I want you to start kicking. In this video, I'm going to explain the progression of this. What I want you to do is have a board way out in front of you. Put your hands on the corner of the board, on the butt end of the board closest to you. I don't want it up here because that's the type of kicking where often people grab the front of the board, they stick their head out of the water, and what that encourages is your legs to sink down. So instead, what we do is we put on a snorkel, we put our hands on the butt end of the board on the edges, so that as you can see, our arms go straight out from our shoulders, and that's going to help eliminate crossover of the arms. So that's how I want you to hold the board, at the butt end of the board, right on the corner of it, not up at the front. Then I want you to have a snorkel on. And when you've got that snorkel on, I want you to be looking straight down at the bottom of the pool. Now remember, if our head goes up, our legs are going to go down. So we want to point our head down to encourage our legs to go up. So that's what I want you to do with your head and the snorkel. Now, we will go forward here, and what I want you to focus on, the easiest way to do this is with a snorkel, a board, and fins. I want you to focus on keeping that upper body completely stationary. I don't want any movement whatsoever there. That's what's going to take the work, and that's what's going to develop your nice tight core and that long streamlined position of being a log moving across the surface of the water. But what's going to happen is as you kick, there's going to be a lot of vibration back here, and that vibration is going to try to translate up into the upper body. You can see that from here, that as I kick, there's a little bit of vibration back and forth in my upper body. That's your job, is to keep that completely stationary. And then as far as the kick goes, I want you to keep that nice and narrow. Think about keeping that within about 1.5, 1.5 feet in diameter. So you want to have just a really, really narrow kick. So what we're focusing on here is you get your hands in that position on the corner of the board, you point your head straight down, and then you kick with narrow feet, keeping your upper body completely stationary. And while you're doing this, the last thing I want you to think about is back of the head, butt cheeks, heels at the surface of the water. And if you do all that, you are going to be nice, tight, firm across the surface of the water. You're not going to be wiggling back and forth like that. It's going to stop your legs from sinking. It's going to reduce your kick to just what you need to keep your heels at the surface of the water, and that's going to be the best kick that you can do. Now, how I've shown this here with fins, snorkel, and a board is the first progression of it. Upper body nice and stationary, those heels at the surface of the water, butt cheek at the surface of the water, back of head at the surface of the water. This is another progression here. This is where we don't have the board, and I think I've got the fins here, but we're trying to do the same thing. And when I don't have the board indicated, you still have your hands outstretched, and you put them in a spot with a little bit of room in between them. Again, we're not overlapping those hands and clasping them together. We want them about 8 inches apart so that we aren't crossing over our center line with our hands there. So when we take the board away, you're not going to have that stable platform here, and you're going to have to work even harder to keep your upper body stationary. But the same principles apply. We want you to have back of your head. We want you to have the back of the head, butt cheeks, heels at the surface of the water. In this case, all I'm using is the snorkel, and we will always use the snorkel in this so that we can keep our head pointed down. So regardless of what the kick drill says, we want you to do the same thing. We want you to have back of your head, butt cheeks, heels at the surface of the water. We want that kick nice and narrow within about a foot, foot and a half kind of width. We want you to keep your arms a little bit apart so that they're not crossing over. We want you to look straight down at the surface of the water. And then the last thing is that when you don't have a board, see how my hands are under the surface of the water by somewhere around 6 inches. In your case, depending on how flexible your shoulders are, you might need to go as low as 12 inches. But what we're looking to have is a straight line from the shoulder through the elbow, through the wrist, through the fingertips. So if you were to have your fingers at the surface of the water, you'd be developing, basically having a palm as a break. So that is how you do all of the kicking that we've got. It doesn't matter when you end up in this, because this is one of the biggest things that triathlon swimmers don't get right. They're not tight enough to keep their body level with the surface of the water, and this is how you're going to do it. It's going to help with your breathing. It's going to help with you being faster. It's going to help with you being a lot more streamlined in the water and going faster at the same effort.